When I think computer, I think of something along the lines of this. But according to Manu Prakash, this too is a computer, or at least a computation in progress. I'll let him explain.
Feynman and a lot of other people have talked about the fact that you cannot compute without physical elements like electrons in your computer or chalk on a whiteboard. You have to represent information with physical entities.
And what Prakash figured out is that you could use these to compute. Instead of electrons running through circuits, Prakash and colleagues showed that you could direct bubbles through tiny etched tubes.
Think of the tubes as the wire in your computer. The tube only plays the role of guiding information.
And the information is the bubble. Think of it as a bit. If it exists,
then it's a 1, and if it doesn't exist, it's a 0. The power to compute in this system comes from flow.
The flow is generated by gravity, and the reason bubble motion can be turned into a computation is that
a bubble that's traveling has what I call a hydrodynamic field.
Bubbles affect their environment, and that in turn affects other bubbles. Specifically, if one bubble enters a tube, another bubble will not enter the tube until that initial one is a certain distance away. So you can see it here. Ordinarily, the bubbles go this way, but when this bubble enters, this next bubble gets diverted down this other path. And that interaction allows you to make and, or, and not gates.
If you have the basic set of building blocks, AND gates, OR gates, and NOT gates, you can write any mathematical expression.
Prakash also showed that the system is cascadable, or
the inputs are bubbles and the outputs are bubbles. So one computer can talk to the other computer. One gate can talk to the other gate.
You can store a bubble memory.
It's called bistability, the capability to store information indefinitely.
These are the basics of a computer. But, of course, bubbles are a lot slower than electrons, and clearly a lot bigger, so no bubble iPhone. On the other hand,
my brother joked around saying, this is a computer that I can spill my coffee on. But that's not the goal.
The goal relates to another property of bubbles that electrons in your computer don't have. Bubbles can carry stuff.
What if to every electron you could give a little grocery bag and you could put anything you want, say a single biomolecule, in it? And then essentially you compute, but your material that you put in that representational bit actually ends up somewhere.
Which means that you could create as you compute. Drug screening and lab-on-a-chip applications come to mind, Prakash says. But at the same time,
for many systems that can grow in complexity, it's extremely difficult to predict where they will have the most impact.
Now listen to this clip from the dawn of the computer age, 1965.
We are now beginning to use the machines in entirely new ways on entirely different problems. And this is the exciting part. This is the intellectual aspect of applying the machines to completely new ideas that has so excited many people in the field.
Computers solved problems we never knew we had. Whether that will be true for a computer of bubbles, well, that's still up in the air. For Science Friday, I'm Flora Lichtman.